If you invested $10K into AMD back in 2014 when Lisa Su became CEO, you'd be sitting on $600,000 today. Su pulled off one of Silicon Valley's greatest comebacks, outsmarting her biggest competitor and growing the value of her business from $2 billion to $250 billion. Now she's risking everything to do it all over again, but this time against Nvidia, the most valuable company on planet Earth. Unless Su can compete with Jensen Huang, her company could become as irrelevant as it was in 2014. This video breaks down how one of tech's most legendary CEOs is betting everything she can pull off the impossible twice. So you'll know if AMD is actually undervalued or if Nvidia has already won the AI war. So what made Lisa Su into one of the most revered CEOs in all of Silicon Valley? Born in Taiwan and raised in New York, Su was pursuing her PhD in electrical engineering at MIT when she wrote what seemed like an obscure academic paper. That research would become one of the core manufacturing methods that powered the chip industry for the next 2 decades. But Su's real education came during her years at IBM, where she learned the brutal realities of chip manufacturing and became technical assistant to legendary CEO Lou Gerstner. It was in this role she learned a critical lesson that would shape her career. The semiconductor industry is about playing the long game. The decisions you make today determine your fate many years down the road. When AMD recruited Su in 2012, the company was already in crisis mode. By the time she became CEO 2 years later, it was staring down extinction. The numbers were devastating, just $2 billion in market value compared to Intel's $180 billion dominance. Su's first moves were brutal but necessary. She cut 7% of staff and made desperate deals with Sony and Microsoft to build game console chips. But cutting costs and getting a few extra bucks wasn't going to save AMD. Su knew the only way to beat Intel was to out-innovate them. That's why she made the gutsy decision to stop selling AMD's profitable server chips entirely until they could build out something that would actually be able to compete on performance. Around this time, traditional chip design had hit a wall. Intel and everyone else were building massive, complex processors on single pieces of silicon. But Su embraced a blank sheet approach, designing their core intellectual property from the ground up. The breakthrough was something called chiplets. Instead of cramming everything onto one giant chip, AMD would build smaller, specialized chips and then connect them together like digital Lego blocks. The advantages were massive: more flexibility, better manufacturing efficiency, and the ability to use different foundries for different parts. When AMD's Zen architecture launched in 2017, it wasn't just competitive with Intel, it was better. Chiplets became AMD's secret weapon, and the technology was so revolutionary that nearly every major processor company uses it today. While Intel was suffering from massive investments in the wrong manufacturing approaches, AMD had swiftly outmaneuvered them. By 2022, Lisa Su had achieved what many said was impossible. AMD passed Intel in market value for the first time in its 53-year history. Lisa Su's story proves that CEOs need to think years into the future to be successful. Even though Lisa Su pulled off a miracle against Intel, she had no time to pop champagne. An even bigger competitor came out of nowhere, led by none other than her cousin, Jensen Huang. The AI boom in late 2022 created the largest technology gold rush in history. Suddenly, every tech giant needed AI chips powerful enough for large language models, and Nvidia was the only company that made them. Once again, AMD found itself in the same position it was in 2014, a distant second trying to challenge a seemingly unbeatable market leader. So if we're to figure out if AMD has a chance at taking the fight to Nvidia, we've got to look at the differences in their business. 2 key stats tell a lot of the story. Nvidia reported around $100 billion in sales of GPUs last year, while AMD sold just $5 billion of that. But even more telling is the market cap gap. Nvidia's $4 trillion valuation versus AMD's $250 billion means Jensen's empire is worth over 15 times what his cousin built. A lot of it comes down to the technology. Nvidia's flagship H100 chip is like a Ferrari, pure speed with 2,000 teraflops of computing power. AMD's MI300X is more like a cargo truck. It's got less raw speed at 1,300 teraflops, but it carries twice as much cargo, with 192 gigabytes of memory versus Nvidia's 80 gigabytes. But Nvidia isn't standing still at all. Their new Blackwell chips promise 30 times faster performance, while AMD's upcoming MI350 series counters with 35x improvements. This is a classic hardware arms race, each company trying to leapfrog the other with each successive product launch. But Nvidia's massive advantage here isn't just about their hardware. Its massive and never-ending sales volume has seen it lock up manufacturing capacity with TSMC for years to come, meaning even if AMD's products can be competitive, making them could be a bottleneck. The AI chip war is also as much about software as it is silicon. Most AI developers already know how to use Nvidia's CUDA programming language. The company's huge revenue multiple reflects an ecosystem that goes beyond their chips, with a software stack that includes everything from development tools tools to pre-trained AI models. Switching to AMD means learning the company's ROCm operating system, rewriting code, and taking risks on a smaller ecosystem. It's a classic chicken and the egg problem. Developers won't switch without better tools, but AMD can't build better tools without more developers. The customers that Nvidia and AMD are both targeting are also notoriously conservative. These are data centers, multi-billion-dollar projects that need to make money. They're investing massive sums in construction and need to outfit it with the tech that can work for years. So AMD has a lot of selling to do to convince clients they're worth it. But we already know that playing from behind isn't anything new to Lisa Su. To understand AMD's business, let's dive into the numbers. Between 2023 and 2024, AMD's data center revenue grew 94%. This AI-focused business division now accounts for around half of revenue and 58% of operating profits, showing the company is now officially an AI business and making money from it. AMD also spent $6.5 billion on research last year, reflecting Lisa Su's aggressive push to innovate on hardware and software to trade short-term profits for future market share. But the stat to really pay attention to is this one. AMD's $5 billion in sales for its Instinct GPU AI chips last year was up from $100 million in 2023, an insane 50x increase that reflects the enormous growth in this market. And that growth has continued into this year. Q1 2025 revenues for the quarter hit $7.4 billion, up 36% year over year, marking the fourth consecutive quarter of accelerating growth. From a value perspective, AMD trades at around 9x revenue compared to Nvidia's massive 26x multiple. That means AMD is trading at a 60% discount to Nvidia. If AMD can continue this insane growth, there's enormous room to capture market share in one of the world's fastest growing markets. Is Lisa Su destined to take a chunk out of the AI market? Well, you need to know it boils down to two core perspectives. For one, it's a bet on the AI market itself. Chips are the raw materials that power the AI tools you might be using every day in work and your personal life. If you think AI is truly going to transform how businesses operate, AMD could be an integral part of that story. Lisa Su sees the AI chip market growing to $500 billion by 2028. Even capturing 10% of that market would mean $50 billion in annual revenue just from AI chips, which would double AMD's 2024 sales. The next bet you'd be making by betting on AMD is that history will repeat itself. Lisa Su already took down a competitor with a market cap 90 times greater than AMD's. Believing in AMD means you think Lisa Su can bring the competition to Jensen in the same way. But here's one of the most compelling points I can make to close all this out. The AI chip market is still in its infancy, and if it grows how Lisa Su thinks it can, there's room for multiple winners. AMD doesn't have to destroy Nvidia to become a trillion-dollar business. Lisa Su just needs to secure her seat at the table at what's shaping up to be one of the fastest growing and important markets in business history. Thank you for watching, and if you want more content like this, I made this video about how Robinhood could become a $1 trillion company and 10x its market cap.